One of the extraordinary provisions in the Bill of Rights is the Second Amendment, or the right of an individual citizen to own and operate a firearm. Now, what I find even more extraordinary is that there are millions of Americans like me who have never even touched a firearm because we were born and raised in big cities, and our idea of safety and law enforcement um, is always delegated to the professionals, cops, and what have you. And the only occasion that we may think about owning a firearm is maybe when we watch shows like Walking Dead or World War Z or anything that has to do with the civil unrest or the zombie apocalypse. Well, I have started to rethink and re-evaluate my ambivalence about um, owning a firearm since 2020 with everything that happened in New York when BLM and Antifa was allowed to run amok, and the cities decided to go ahead with this thing called bail reform, basically turning Gotham into one giant movie set for the movie Joker. And what I want to do is, I have been inspired to do, is to create this series, which we will title Gun Gnomes. I'm the gnome in this case. Gun Gnomes Zero to Hero, where we will document my journey from someone who is a complete newbie, someone who can't even tell the barrel of a gun from the butt end of the gun, to someone who is comfortable um, shooting live rounds at the range. And I suspect there are many people like me who, if you're still living in New York, I've left New York about a year ago, and I've moved to the red state. But you will get to watch me make a complete ass of myself, fumble, so that when the time is right for you feel the time is right for yourself to go and sign up with a class, you would go in more confident and knowing what to expect based on your viewing experience with me. So let me set up a bit about what you're about to see. So this episode is actually broken into two parts. The first part is my coach and I sharing our background, and in his case, he will tell you about how he got interested in firearms and how he went from an amateur to someone who shoots competitively, and then you get to watch me try several, well, not several, just a couple of pistols to start with, and then he will instruct me on how to just hold the pistol. And then the second part, which will be published as another episode, you will get to see close-up shots of the pistol, so you can see how I'm holding the pistol, or how I'm not holding the pistol correctly, and my coach correcting me and instructing me promptly on that. So it's going to be fun, and it's going to be very certainly going to be instructional. And before I show you that segment, I just a special shout out to the 23 followers who have stuck around. I know I've not been very prompt in putting up content, but I promise you we'll get better as I figure out my pace. And if you are watching the first time, stay till the end, and I'll give you an elevator pitch as to why you should become the 24th and 25th follower. I don't even like the word follower. Where this NDR is about helping you uncover your sense of individual sovereignty and independence. So, follower, supporter, whatever. But yeah, that's the gist of what we're trying to do here. So the series again is will be running in tandem with the other content that we'll be also publishing. That's the other subjects where we focus on will be more about acquiring the the new attitude, mindsets, and mental models that are necessary to thrive and succeed in this day and age. But for this parallel series, it will be focused on Tom becoming proficient, independent, and self-reliant, and taking full advantage of this right, which the founding generation. I'm pointing at James Madison, the guy that helped put the Second Amendment into writing. That the Second Amendment is actually operates as part of a set: First Amendment, Second Amendment, all the way to the 10th Amendment, so that we start treating the subject of the Second Amendment and gun ownership as more of a universal civic value than something that how conservatives and liberal currently present it as more of an exclusive subculture on the right, which is, back in the day, they didn't have any notion of what is right and left. It was this tyranny versus freedom. So that's where I want to go with Gun Gnomes, Zero to Hero. So enjoy.
Yeah. So are you Tom or are you Perseus?
Perseus.
Okay.
I mean, come on. HR. I'm still on somebody's HR list somewhere.
Okay.
The advertising industry is actually very small in New York. It's if you work in one ad and you see the other HR talk with the other agencies too, that's how they get around. So it's been Perseus, Argos.
Well, if you're gonna do that, then I'll be Six Watcher.
Six Watcher.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go for it. Okay. Hey there, it's Perseus of Argos and
Six Watcher.
Six Watcher. So this is the day one of my Zero to Hero journey of becoming proficient in firearms. I'm a complete newbie, but Six Watcher isn't. And I think before we even get into the what you're looking at here, I want to give the audience a bit of a background of why Six Watcher is my ideal coach. And Six Watcher, you have an interesting story when it comes to becoming a pro at this thing. By the way, I'm a complete newbie, so I'm going to fumble a lot when it comes to pointing out these things. So you guys are going to be part of that journey. I'm sure over time in future episodes, I'm going to be able to speak the lingo. But here, this is very bewildering to me. But you're going to help me get to a place where I'm not only comfortable but very proficient in all matter and aspects that's related to handling firearms. So did I get my lingo correct? Would you refer this as firearms? How do we...
Firearms, handguns, pistols, weapons. They're not synonymous, but they can be used interchangeably sometimes.
Okay. Do we want to maybe kick off by sharing with the audience what's interesting about your background when it's related to this? Like when did you start to pick up firearms?
Yeah, it's interesting. Your journey is starting exactly where mine started, roughly about 6 years ago. And so what happened was I grew up in a country that didn't allow firearms, for personal defense. I didn't know anybody who was a hunter. I didn't know any military. I didn't know any police as a child, and just never was exposed to guns of any kind. And went through my whole adult life. I got to the age of about 50 years old, and my wife said, hey, I'd like to get a gun for home defense and just to exercise our Second Amendment rights. Okay, let's do that. So I had to go, if I'm going to get a gun, I'm going to have to learn how to use it. So both of us went to pistol class, just beginning pistol class. We learned which end the projectile comes out of. We learned how to load it. We learned what magazines are versus clips. We learned as many things as we could. And that was about it. This indeed was the very first gun. That's my wife's gun. Yeah. And we then went further, and I was just plinking targets, shooting paper at the public range, never drew from holster, never did anything beyond that. And about a year later, I got a little bored with that, and I said, you know what, there's got to be a little more. So I started taking more classes, more self-defense, more pistol classes, and then got into the shooting sports. And that's what led me to where I am now, where I've ended up getting my NRA certification. I've achieved Grandmaster, top 100 in one of the disciplines with a couple of divisions. And that has taken me all the way to where I am now and very comfortable. So I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions. So do you want me to go into the self-defense DEFCONs 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 now? Is that
sure. I mean, I don't know what that means either, but I think the point of that story is that it's you're never too late to become proficient in not just firearms, but learning what your rights are, Second Amendment specifically, and so did you say that you started at the age of 50?
Yes. So I was 50 years old before I ever held a real gun. Anything other than one of these plastic ones.
And so I don't mind telling everyone I'm 52. So like you said, this is
very similar.
Similar. Do you? And one other question: do you think there are a lot of people out there who support the Second Amendment or generally the idea of self-defense, but then they might have some trepidation and hesitation about their age and getting involved, because you have to admit that there is some there's something very daunting about the culture, and then you're kind of playing it up too with this.
Oh yeah, I got the jersey, my competition jersey, yeah, and that's absolutely the case. The statistics are very interesting. So since the pandemic, since COVID, we've had somewhere between 13 and 20 million first-time new gun owners. That's a huge increase. I mean, it's hockey stick grab. And this is now, this year, 2023, was the first year that more households than not reported having at least one firearm in the home. So 51% of U.S. households now have a firearm in the home, according to the survey. I don't know how realistic that is, but one of the things that's very interesting is there are more guns than people in the United States. And there's I think they estimate somewhere around 380 million guns and maybe 1 trillion rounds of ammunition. And so when you think about it in those terms, it's a staggering statistic. And yes, I would, in answer to your question, I think people nowadays, with all the distrust in government and the pandemic and the economy doing what it's doing, people are getting to the point where they're realizing they have to be their own first responder.
Right.
You have to take self-reliance and self-response is the only way to go, because if something goes down, you're in a mall and somebody starts shooting, what are you going to do? You're going to run and hide, you're going to get shot, or you're going to return fire. Those are your choices.
Right. So it's interesting you said that. So would you make a difference between people who are owning guns the first time, but also versus people who are mindful of becoming proficient with it?
Very much so. So that's a great segue into the DEFCON. And this is I just stole the Defense Readiness Condition from the U.S. Armed Forces. So DEFCON 5, this is their nuclear war scale, right? But we're using it for personal defense. So now I'm going to say DEFCON 5 is most people. No weapons on them, anywhere near them. They sleep comfortably at night. They have no worries. They drive their car around with no weapons at all, and they go all places anytime, day or night, and they just think they feel safe. They may or may not be safe, but they feel safe. So that to me is DEFCON 5. That's just normal readiness. DEFCON 4 would be someone who says, maybe I should get a firearm. And so they'll go buy one, they'll put it in a box under their bed, or they'll put it in the closet, or maybe they'll get a gun safe, and they'll never use it. They just have it, they put it in the closet, they check the box and say, if the zombie apocalypse happens, I will have a firearm available to me. Okay, so we'll call that DEFCON 4. DEFCON 3 would be, they take it to the range a couple times a year. They might shoot 50 rounds of ammo in a year and say, okay, I know how to use the gun. They may get a holster. They may find a way to carry it on their person, or maybe just in a purse or something. And that's as far as they want to go with it. So that would be DEFCON 3. And then DEFCON 2 would be they have a weapon on them available. It might be an edged weapon like a knife. It might be mace. It might be a firearm. It might be self-defense training. It might be Muay Thai or Taekwondo, any of those martial arts. And they feel fairly proficient, but they don't always have a weapon available and ready to use when they're out and about in public. So that would be DEFCON 2. DEFCON 1 is someone who has a proper weapon for whatever the conditions that might arise on them at all times, ready to deploy as quickly as possible. And I'm talking about the difference between a 1 second draw stroke and a 3 second draw stroke, being able to deploy the weapon and get it in. Like if you get blindsided, 1 second versus 3 seconds is all the difference in the world, right? If you're having to fish around in your purse, or if you got a pocket gun, that's not going to work if somebody jumps you, right? Mm-hmm. But if you've got a gun that's ready to deploy and you've practiced it and you've built the skills and you know the law and when to shoot and when not to shoot and when to draw and when not to draw, that to me is DEFCON 1. You've reached a level of preparedness where you are now ready to deal with what might surprise you.
Okay.
And so my question for you in this journey, the firearms are all cool. To my mind, I've spent quite a bit more time studying the law, the impacts, the ramifications of a firearm, of self-defense in all sorts of situations. And so I'm asking you, to what level are you ready to go, right? How far do you want to go? Do you want to be DEFCON 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, knowing now how I've defined those? Do you want to be a guy who just buys a gun, puts it in the closet, checks the box? Or do you want to be a guy who could deploy a gun at any moment if needed and properly self-defend and not put people in harm's way?
Yeah, well, I have to be completely honest. So DEFCON 1 sounds like I'm ready to work for the CIA or some black ops kind of thing. So I don't think that's my goal. People could change, I guess, eventually. So well, I guess I'm more DEFCON 4 if it's still worth your time.
Yeah. Well, here let me tell you a little bit more about my backstory and how I got to what.
Okay. DEFCON 1.
I don't necessarily call it DEFCON 1 all the time. I'm not at DEFCON 1 all the time. But what I did was, I told you a little bit about what I did, and then I got into the shooting sports, and then I found shooting sports like IDPA, the International Defensive Pistol Association. What they do is it's a game, it's a contest, but they mock up scenarios where you may have to defend yourself, and you have to shoot multiple targets. You might have to deal with obstacles or barricades, or shoot from your car, or carry something and drop it and deploy the weapon. So that got me very much interested in building a set of skills to where I would feel comfortable. Okay. I will tell you, it was 2 full years of competing, studying, and planning before I ever carried a weapon in public. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel responsible until I had gone to that level to where, because carrying a weapon in public is a huge responsibility. It's a big choice. It's a big decision, because you no longer can defend your honor. You can defend your life all day with a weapon. You don't want to defend your honor. Okay. Somebody yells at you, road rage, somebody gets in your face in a restaurant, somebody is insulting your wife or your husband. If any of those things happen, it's move away. Extricate yourself from the situation. You do not want to bring a gun to a word fight. Right? Okay. So that's a very important choice. If you decide to carry a weapon in public, to my mind, there's a lot of responsibility that goes along with that. And I wanted to achieve a level of proficiency to where I could deploy the weapon safely. I knew gun handling. I knew how to clear jams. I knew how to reload if I had to. I knew first aid, tourniquets, the ability to render first aid, because if you end up shooting somebody, once the fight is over and you've incapacitated them, now your goal is to try to save their life, which seems counterintuitive. A lot of people don't think that way. They think shoot the bad guy and run away. That's a plan, but it doesn't hold up in court very well. Well,
unless you are in a world where there will be no more courts and zombies are running around.
Sure. So. If it's zombies, go ahead and double tap and move on.
Okay. So I I think DEFCON 1, that preparedness and that proficiency is maybe something that might grow into, but it's not something I can honestly picture myself
Yep.
in yet. And so I'm a complete newbie again, so it would be DEFCON 4.
4 is our current target, let's say that.
Okay.
So, and I'll tell you how my progression went. Once I got to a level of proficiency where I felt comfortable carrying in public, we do what's called the Wally Walk. The Wally Walk is when you go to a Walmart and you have a pistol either on your waist or in your pocket or, you know, in your purse or wherever you might have it, and you go for the first time out in public with a weapon, and you're walking around thinking everyone's staring at you, everybody's knows that you're armed, everybody's wondering what are you going to.
Oh, I'm sorry, they were kind of cut out there for a second, so I'm just hitting the record button. So
Okay.
Sorry, pick that up here. We're talking about just the Wally Walk, going to Walmart.
Going to Walmart the first time with your concealed carry weapon, and you're worried about, you know, oh, is the gun showing through my shirt? Does everybody know I have this gun? You know, so you have to get past all that psychological mess and get comfortable. You'll notice, for example, with these weapons here, we have this bright orange here. This is showing that the chamber is full, the barrel is completely inert. This is a trigger guard, right? This is a completely safe weapon. This is currently a piece of plastic and steel. It can do no one any harm. But many people get nervous around guns just because of the potential to take a life, even accidentally or intentionally. And so I've made it very clear, every one of these magazines has an orange piece of plastic or a blue piece of plastic indicating it can't be loaded.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that I like to do with new people. I like to make the guns completely inert and safe before we even start handling them, because there is a level of trepidation there.
So I guess we are going to go into the next segment where, unless you have more to share, you can.
No, I think we should talk about the guns, and then we can also talk about holsters at some other point.
Okay, so we'll just set up a new scene here so that we could continue this on, and you can get more focus on. I keep forgetting your alias.
Six Watcher.
Six Watcher. What does that mean anyway?
Watching my six, looking behind.
Okay.
Check.
See, that's
got your six.
That's how that gun lingo. But listen, like, you know, Zero the Hero, I'll probably get a hang of all that. All that talk. So.
Do you want to do you want me to go through the firearms with the close up? Would that be helpful?
Yeah, I think we're going to set up this is senior. You know what? We'll include this in part of the recording anyway, because it's more authentic. So I'm just going to put this on pause and then set up the next shot.
What you can't explain is coming back again. I can see it now, I can see it now. What you can't explain, coming back again. I know, the time is here to waste. I can't explain the look that's on your face.